again, just this side of Bell, which is where we're going to stop for pictures in a minute. So we're going to stop just this side of Bell Rock. You can get a picture of that without any buildings or roads in the way in just a few minutes. And after our picture stop at Bell, then we'll head into the valley behind it, where we'll have 360 degrees of red rock scenery, and head for uptown Sedona. We're still about 5 miles from Sedona, but for those of us that live in Arizona, when we say Sedona, we mean all this red rock, not just the town. Sedona, the town, began in 1902, but didn't become a city and elect its first mayor until 1988. So again, Courthouse Rock straight ahead, the height of the Sears Tower in Chicago, or the CN Tower in Toronto, Canada, same height. But first, the village of Oak Creek. Almost every building in this valley was not here in the year 1990. That's why everything looks new. It is. This town doesn't even have a mayor yet. It's part of the county. And I highly recommend when you get home, rent a movie called The Rounders with Henry Fonda and Glenn Ford, 1964. The first half hour is filmed right on the left side here. The freeway behind us wasn't here. This road wasn't here. There wasn't a house in this valley in 1964. This was a cow pasture. And so in that comedy western, The Rounders, you can see what this valley looked like in 1964. You'll see the same scenery ahead of us, minus all man-made structures. They have a beat-up old red pickup truck, Henry Fonda and Glenn Ford. And while they're over here on the left breaking horses, a white Plymouth station wagon comes bouncing down a dirt road with Chill Wills behind the wheel. Hires Henry Fonda and Glenn Ford to go up to Flagstaff to round up his cows. Most of the movie Sedona. Back in those days, there was about 1,500 people in Sedona area. Today, estimated 23,000. Maybe we're still 4 miles to Sedona. Now, one thing that's really, really important, when I went back to Boston, I could not believe how people step into traffic back east. Buses will stop. In Arizona, they'll run over you. So everywhere we go today, Sedona, Grand Canyon, back to your hotel, never ever trust a moving vehicle in the state of Arizona. Straight to your right about. now. You can see how tiny the little person is over there.
Yeah.
But as we come around, there's another parking lot just like the one we left, which is easier access to get to Bell. You don't have to walk all the way over here to do it. Another hiker right to your right up on the slopes. You may see more. There's more hikers to the right. And now we enter a round valley with the scenery in every direction. Here's the other trailhead, just around this curve on the right side there. And this trailhead here also acts as trails that go out in front of us and all over this valley. You can spend a whole day just in this one valley. And there are books written about Sedona's hiking trails. Tell when you meet somebody who lives in Sedona, they have built-in smile wrinkles in their face to tell you they wake up with this every day. And this would have been a national park had it been discovered earlier.
How expensive is it to live in Sedona?
It varies considerably. Different parts of town, you can easily find multi-million-dollar homes. But it is a tough place to make a living. Arizona is a right-to-work state, so we don't use the U word here. And so a lot of jobs pay very low wages, no benefits. Retiring is a great place. If you got a pension, this is the #1 state in the country to retire to. Cathedral Rock's to your left there at 10 o'clock. Hiking trails go up through those gaps. In fact, our leading source of immigrants are Californians, followed by Texas, followed by Chicago. The only place with more Chicagoans than the Phoenix area is Chicago. Cubs and White Sox spring train in Arizona, March, for a reason. But they just came out declaring Phoenix the best place in the country to retire to for cost of living and amenities. My mom lived out in Sun City in the Northwest Valley. Dad said it was cheaper than North Dakota. His property tax was $600 a year on his house, $50 a month property tax. Cathedral Rock's now ahead on the left as we come down the hill. If you look at that main gap up there, you can see the hiking trail going through the trees up there. I can see people standing up there. So Cathedral Rock's to your left now. This whole town's economy is tourism-based. In the National Center for New Age Culture in the United States, there's hikers to your right, the trail. It again connects all the way back to where we just left. Another trailhead just ahead on the next curve. Keep up with how much they're worth these days. 2 years ago, you could have bought a home in Phoenix with 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a swimming pool for $125,000. I'm guessing that same house now would be $225,000. Coming up is a circle. If we stayed to the right on Chapel Road, it would take you up to a little church half mile to the right called the Holy Chapel of the Cross. We'd go up there on our Sedona tour. Even if you don't go into the chapel, it's a beautiful view from up there, run by the Catholic Church. And that's a half mile to the right. You can see how they just built the house in the forest. The yard left natural. And this is the area I'm going to let you guys out in uptown ahead of us. Shops on both sides, and art galleries mixed in with them. But again, where I'm going to let you guys out is the Starbucks and an ice cream parlor, which feel free to bring back on the van. The canyon below on the right goes up into Oak Creek Canyon. We're going to go up through there when we leave Sedona. So this is the old downtown core, what we call it today, uptown Sedona. But even again, crossing the street left and right in a crosswalk, still don't trust a moving vehicle to stop for you. Sedona is also famous for its Jeep tours. The #1 Jeep tour company here is the Pink Jeeps, which you can see people over here getting ready to go on Jeep tours up in the hills. But you have to have a healthy back and neck. If you have any history of back and neck problems, you don't want to do the Jeep tours. The lurching of the Jeep will aggravate injuries. Here's one of the Jeeps coming next to us. Quite the adventure. When I do Sedona tours and I have people do the Jeeps, we can arrange that for people. Is when they come back, they either want to buy a Jeep or they never want to ride one again. No middle of the ground. They want one or the other. This green traffic light up ahead of us is our meeting spot, where I'm going to pull over to let you out behind this truck with the blinking lights, and where I will pick you up. It's 9:30 right now. black rocks on the top of the hills are lava flows stacked on each other, more basalt. 7 of them stacked on one another. Can you imagine what it would look like to see red lava pouring down these cliffs and down to the Sedona behind us? It's happened many times here. Won't happen today, but someday in the future, maybe. This canyon that we're driving up is a fault zone that runs north-south right through Sedona. Pretty sure people that live in Sedona have no idea that Oak Creek Canyon is a fault zone. Some of them found out, though, about 6 months ago they had an earthquake in this canyon. Centered 8 miles underground. It didn't break the surface, but woke everybody up. The earthquake occurred at 2 o'clock in the morning. So Sedona and Flagstaff residents are both. And we're going to catch up with the end of second spring when we get to the top of this hill where it'll be green and wildflowers blooming. It started back in late July, but still going on now in mid-September. We get 2 bloomings of flowers a year in Arizona. The regular spring, which begins in mid-February in Phoenix, and then the second spring, which is finishing up now. See, if you like nature, there's just no place like Arizona. New Zealand would be close, but that's a little more spread out. Beautiful views down to your left. I know New Zealand and Australia are a long ways apart, but both are on my bucket list. Just finished a book called Tracks about a young Australian girl back in the 70s who took 3 camels and went from the center of Australia to the west coast by herself. Made a movie about that recently as well. The V-shaped canyon straight ahead filled with trees is the fault where it continues north, along with this white shatter zone through the trees ahead to the right. So in front of us, solid bedrock, and coming around the curve into the fault zone, now revealed in the shatter zone in front of us. Crossing the fault back to bedrock. Now the next mile, spectacular views on the right-hand side. Unless you have fear of heights, in which case you might want to take a nap. And again, you'll see how straight the canyon is and how one side is higher than the other. Both indications of faults. I missed the Great Alaska Earthquake, 64. My parents moved us out just before the earthquake and brought us back right afterwards. The forests in Alaska look very similar to what you see out the window. The secondary waves, surface waves, made the trees swing back and forth, hitting the earth in both directions for 5 to 7 minutes. If you can imagine every tree around us, as far as you can see, swinging back and forth, hitting the earth, that's what happened in the 64 earthquake in Alaska. There's a lava flow next to us on the left. Basalt. And oak trees starting to go into fall color here on the right, with a tint of gold to them. Pictures right about now. Now we're on the Colorado Plateau. Starting to get weather up here that might get down to frosting at night. That knocks down all the flowers real quick. The Grand Canyon. If you paid attention to it in Arizona, you can learn to tell the elevation by the twins. There are last volcanoes ahead of us here.